Thank you very much. So this talk is called Inaccessible Marketing Emails Suck. And on my first slide here, I have a cat with a pink robe that looks a bit sad, unhappy, newly bathed. So that's probably what cats look like when they get a shower. So my name is Eric Pesoson Spagnoli, and I go by he, him. I'm an accessibility specialist at Access Lab, and I have a CPWA certification. So what I'm going to go through this presentation is a short introduction to what this rant is all about. And then I'm going to go through emails that suck. I'm going to step it up a bit with a horror section. And then I'm going to take it a little bit easier on you and show some better examples. I'm going to show some unsubscribed links and so on. And I'm going to share some nice resources with you and wrap it up with a summary. So, introduction. So, I am currently wearing a brown cap with a T12T logo, which is a meetup in Sweden, which I co-organize. It's a brown cap with orange letters. And I also have a lot of accessibility swag and books and stuff in the background. I can mention a few. I have the one that I have on me with WCAG AC/DC style. I have the Access in the background, which is one of my favorites. And I also have some Lego sets with the Everyone is Awesome Lego, which I really love. So on this picture, I am wearing a kid's diadem, a unicorn diadem with white ears. I have a light blue dotted shirt and blue Christmas tie with some icons on it. And a little bit about me. I'm a white male. I have a kind of grayish, brownish beard. I love accessibility strategy. That is my favorite, to help companies to become even better. I also love testing new beers. That's one of my passions. I have like 2,000 different kinds that I've tried out. And also have in my bookcase behind me, I have some nice designed beers. I also like to combine this with going to concerts and festivals and just enjoying myself. I am married and I have 3 kids. So I have a lot of cognitive disabilities as well. Today I'm very, very tired because my daughter was sick and just not sleeping at all. I also have diabetes, so it affects me a lot. And I am half blind on my right eye. That's short about me. What about this rant then? Well, as most of you get a lot of emails in both your personal accounts and job accounts. And I counted it to be approximately 300 emails every week. So you get important stuff such as invoices and meeting updates and all of the things around the schools for the kids and doctor's appointment, calendar reminders, and of course, all of the marketing newsletters that you get. And the background to why I got really, really annoyed was that I always have the images turned off by default, as it is in most email providers. They are not turned on from start. So you have to actively download the images or show the images. And reasons for that are that you want to have a privacy because you share a lot of data. It could be about data saving. And for me, it's when I go abroad, I don't have my unlimited data plan, which I can just in Sweden download whatever I want. And I was annoyed that I'm missing an overview when there are no images loaded. And I think the worst one is that I know how much it costs to do the marketing emails. And I just get so annoyed, and I hate it when they miss out on communication and sales lead, because I'm already opted in to the emails, so they don't have to force me to view them at all. So let's start with some emails that suck. The first one is ICA. It's the grocery provider in Sweden. That is one of the largest ones. And they send out bonus information. So the bonus points when you buy stuff in the grocery store. So for me, it's like, yep, this is the most important part of this email. So open it up, and it's just a blank for the most important part. How much kroner will I get back when I shop the next time? And also they have a lot of tips, like if you want to get some recipes, or in this case, on screen is the shopping app that they want you to use. And they have an alt text on the shopping app, and it's the same as the heading, which doesn't really help. So it could really be blank there. And to show what it actually shows when loading images, you can see that I have 50 kroners in bonus. There's some logos shown, and the image that says about the same thing as the heading is showing about the shopping app. So it's not really corresponding. The next one is from a healthcare provider, and the image shown is saying in the alt text 115x115. Doesn't help anyone, but it probably helps the editor to know which image to put there. And there's also a footer in this image showing some FBTWINST alt texts, which is probably the social icons. And when I load the images, the 115x115 is a foot, so that wasn't clear at all. And there's also missing information about the sender that didn't have any alt texts. So this is the company name and the region Stockholm, which is responsible for the healthcare. So it's quite important information. Another one is from Tallink Silja, which does cruises in Sweden. And I think the alt texts are different from the headings, but as you can see in the right corner, they are cut off. So you only see half of them, so it's really hard to read. And also, when I looked at this in my mobile, I have dark mode on, and dark mode changes the button, the action CTA button. So it's green, light green, and white text, so it's really unreadable. And loading the images, the alt text was activities on board and friendship. And I don't really see them matching the actual images that you can view. And here's another one from a concert provider in Sweden. It's a really, really bad contrast. It's 3.2 light gray on very white background. And they all texts are just the same images. But they have a lot of textual content, so it could be quite okay, but the contrast makes it really bad. And if you load the images, it's a concert poster with a lot of bands, which are not displayed or conveyed in the text. And the lineup or the concert poster has date information and the supporting acts and so on. Another one is from a record store in Sweden called Bengans. it says Friday releases, and well, they have a lot of text, and you can go through the links, which are clearly displayed. So you could go to the store and view. But if you look at this in mobile, it's zoomed out and totally unreadable. So that's a bad thing to control. And loading the images, it's a lot. This is just a section of it, and it's I think it was like 40 CTAs in this image with image maps. A lot of band names and editorial pitches in this. And another one, a good example for desktop email, clearly underlined links, and it's quite nice to read. But again, zoomed out in a mobile browser, that's totally unreadable. And this is a licorice manufacturer, which I happen to just love licorice. So I am looking into their sales emails a lot, but on desktop, of course, because I can do it on mobile. Another thing that is important to look after when you send out your emails is that you don't put out broken attributes. So in this example, it's Quick Fix for You, which is a what do you say? Yeah, a school photography provider, which sends out the images that they take. And it says also code for the image code. In the right-hand side, there's an email for a survey, which the button in mobile, it can't fit and it line breaks, but you have a line height that just overlaps the button, so it's quite unreadable. And another example from my colleague Amin, thank you very much for finding this, is Boka Direct, which they use some CSS to make their links huge. But they haven't looked into the overlapping of the text, so you cannot read the text that is around it, or it's very hard to read. And an addition on the right-hand side here is that there's also like a sad emoji, which is kind of fun in this example. Another example, this is not entirely bad because they have done quite a good job. This is a pharmacy in Sweden, Kronans Apotek. They have a lot of alt text written, so they've done quite a decent job, but there's no space in between, and there are some strange fonts, which makes it very hard to read. So you can do good, but fail in how to actually convey and read it. And then we have some horror examples, so it gets worse. We're going to continue with Kronans Apotek, which, to be transparent, is actually a client of mine. So I'm hoping they're watching now and going to fix this afterwards. And this is a welcome as a member email. It's just membership number and logos. So it was really suspiciously empty. And I had to click and see what was behind it. It was a lot of the call to actions without any provided alt text. The zoomed out is like 12, at least 12 actionable parts. And membership information and app information and so on. And then we have Kronans Apotek again with a marketing email. And it was also suspiciously empty. There's a fair decent amount of text, but it's more of a legal and legal text on it. Loading it, there's a lot of call to actions with different products to buy. And then we have another picture provider in Sweden, which just says it's just empty. It's only a footer. And if you load it, there are a lot, at least, I tried to count it, at least 30 call to actions here on this in this email. So it's an image map with a lot of links in it. And then we have Ubisoft, which is a gaming provider, and they have some alt texts, but they don't really make sense. It says FWIMG underscore image in one example, and 212 TTC underscore right underscore image in another example. And because they are linked images, they become blue and they have a dark background. So it's really hard to read, even if it was a good alt text. And the contrast, yeah, it's 2.8. That's really, really poor. And when I load this, it's a lot of information. In this case, Avatar game that is Frontiers of Pandora. And the one that said TTC right image is different games, which they showcase, which are just missing out. A Swedish online movie stream provider. The alt texts are again very hard to read, dark blue on black background. And the zoomed in example here are alt texts saying Barbie, book, art, advertisement, face, and firearm, which I guess Barbie is the Barbie movie, but the other ones, nah, I don't really know what they mean. Loading the images, oh, there's a lot of information here, different movie posters. And the example of alt text face was for the movie Darkland. And yeah, it shows a face in the image, but in this case, it doesn't make sense to put that alt text. A Swedish furniture and what else the provider, a store online. It's just an empty email. I've zoomed out as far as I could, and it's really, really small, just a footer. And again, a lot of CTAs in this email. There's images and buttons and text in images. So it's about 60 CTAs in this email. Not displayed for me as a potential customer, not loading images. And this one is quite funny. In Swedish, it says "Du har väl inte missat," which kind of means you haven't missed. Well, in fact, I've missed all of this information. It doesn't display for me at all. And it's yet another text and image marketing letter with products and so on. Another one that says, "Don't miss this." It's a concept information from the baser, followed by 2 empty images. And it's information about the band and the date and the location. And to be fair to the baser, they have actually fixed a lot of their email marketing since I told them that it's fact. And another one that is, the email itself is quite okay, but Eventim has suggestions, and the alt texts are written in German. Unsere Empfehlung, not sure of the pronunciation, but 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6. And doesn't make sense to me as a Swedish person, even though I know a little bit of drunken German. But that was concert posters with location, date, and band name and call to actions to buy tickets. And I got another one through a Slack channel, thanks to Homer Gaines for sharing this. This is a Christmas email sent out. It's 2-column layout. It's really, really dark background, and deers going over the text, black text and black deers overlaying. And it's just totally unreadable. I'm not sure who thought about this was a great idea. All right, enough with the horror example. Let's look at some better examples. And this is a newsletter that has some alt text. It has some normal text and a CSS call to action button, so it's not images. And if you load it, it looks a lot prettier with the loaded images, but it's mostly added visual goodies. So you can make most out of the email when you read it without images, which is quite good, and you get links to the content. eBay newsletter is also kind of good structure with headings and text links and so on. Even though they don't have a good alt text, it stands alone, except for maybe this one that has 4 different products that could be separate images with separate alt texts. So they could improve that. Runkeeper, they have alt texts, which is quite good, and the text instructs you to click on the 2023 image, which is a wrap-up of your running year. And it has a corresponding data. They could improve, of course, the alt texts for the images, which has the data of your running streak for the year. Better example from Eventim. So they're not totally bad. All of the information is practically in the text, which is good. So the images, it doesn't really matter if they have images or not, because I can read it without loading them. And the example with loading images just shows the concert poster, which is already explained in the text. This is another example, which is good from Jula. They use headings and text and layout with a lot of spacing. So where the images are loaded, there are clear rectangles, which makes it easy to digest, really. And you can also see the pricing very well without the images. And looking at the actual images when they're loaded, you can get like the 25% off of the price that's in the text. And it's just really visual goodies, a person running and a person sitting on a bike and the products. One thing that was missing, though, they could add the brand name, which could be easier to follow. And then we have another one that is quite good. It's from Live Nation, a concert update. They're missing all texts, but I think in this case, you have the band name and you have the information and you have a link to the tickets. So I think it's sufficient enough for this example. All right. Now we have the bonus part here. And some might not like the emails and you would like to unsubscribe, which is probably the worst nightmare of the marketing team. That, oh no, you shouldn't unsubscribe from our fantastic newsletter. But people want to do that. People are maybe not interested at the time. Maybe they have a high workload and just want to reduce the stress of the emails. So you should really make it easy for people. And the first example I have here, it's horrible contrast. It's 1.2 contrast ratio. And it's from a Swedish lottery provider, which has like a TV game as well. And I haven't even changed colors due to dark mode to view this. It's just white on light lavender color. It's horrible. So you can't really see where you're supposed to click. And this includes as well, like the showing web browser version. So that's, yeah, horrible. Maybe it should have been the horror section. I don't know, it was really horrible. Then we have Foursquare. It's also really hard to read. It's kind of light gray-ish on a gray background. So it's 2.5 contrast ratio. And also it says this is the footer of the email, by the way. And it says to opt out of these emails, click here. And click here is the only thing that is linked. So imagine if you try to find the unsubscribe, you will only find like click here. And then we have another example. This is FKP Scorpio, which is a concert organizer in Sweden. I have a lot of concert information in my inbox, you might notice. But they have really poor contrast. The alt texts are not very good, not corresponding. But I think if they just increase the contrast, it would be a quite good email, actually. And the unsubscribe link is good in the sense that they avprenumerera, which is unsubscribe in Swedish, that one is linked as it should be, but it's really bad contrast. So the orange link is 2.4 and the text is 3.2 in contrast ratio, which is not even close. And then another aspect of emails is that you should have the same language in the full email. And here's a Swedish internet provider called Bahnhof, which is in Swedish. And then it says, if you wish to subscribe from our newsletter, click, and here is unlinked. So it's a different language, which it shouldn't be. And link here is underlined. And then a kind of consultant provider, which is called Demando, which has information in Swedish, and the word unsubscribe and unsubscribe preferences is in the bottom. Those are linked, which is good wording if it was in English, but this should be in Swedish. Another one, Nintendo, also a footer email. Click here is linked. So you have to read all of the text to find out that, okay, click here corresponds to change your email settings or unsubscribe from Nintendo account emails. Please click here. Makes me annoyed, really annoyed. Another one, Swedish one from Readly. And where should you click here? Even though you can view it, it's really hard to see because it's not underlined. And it's the word avsäga in Swedish, which is not really like cancel or I don't want this. So this example also kind of sucks. And eBay, again, they have quite good links, I would say. It's good contrast, and they underline the links, email preferences, and unsubscribe. So I kind of like this one. Amazon has quite a good email overall, but the unsubscribe is not underlined. So it's hard to maybe see it as a link. And if you view this in dark mode, there's a button, a yellow button with black text that says try it free. Viewing that in dark mode, it's still a yellow button, a bit lighter, but it changes to white text. So this is an example that you need to test your stuff in dark mode as well, so it's still readable. It's a horrible example with a quite okay example next to it. All right, so I've gone through like my ranting email inbox. I have a lot more emails, but this was, I think it was quite enough for one session. And I haven't really explained how to do anything. I've just shown like, okay, this is bad and this is okay, and this is the stuff you should do better. But I do have some resources to share with you, and there are some great links. There's a good resource, creating accessible emails, from Harvard, which is quite a decent go through how to compose your emails, really. And then I think the email hero, Remy Parmentier, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Otherwise, I owe you a beer next time I meet you. But he did a fantastic talk in Freiburg, 2019, I think it was, where he talked about the complexity of, behind emails. There's a lot of providers and different, like Yahoo and Google and Outlook, and everything works in different ways. So if you like to dive deep into the world of the email, his talks are really, really great. And he also revisited, I think it was 3 years ago, with dark modes, because dark mode has increased a lot the past years. So how to do emails correctly in dark mode, and avoiding like the try it free Amazon example where you can't read the buttons, because you want to have a certain style of your email because of branding. It's important to test it. And he also has some one article that's the essential tips and tricks for coding HTML emails, which is a really deep dive and really email nerdy. And I also found that he has released a kind of clone of Can I Use, where you can see which elements you can use. But for this is Can I Email? So you can see what works in different email programs and what does not work. So you can be safer when you create your emails. And then also this talk is also an article on accesslab.com. So you can go through the examples and maybe in a slower pace read comments and so on from this. And all of these links are in the presentation, which is on the page of my talk as well. So you can just click in there, or go to accesslab.com and find the article, of course. All right, I hope you managed to stay with me through all my ranting of bad emails. And I really, really hope that this is going to change the perspective of some of the email providers or the marketing providers that I've shown, and hopefully some more as well. So went through the emails that suck, the horror section, better examples, unsubscribes, shown some resources, and now we're at the summary. And I think my last famous words are that just solve the ranting issues. I don't need the help with it. I can just click load images and I can see them. Other people cannot. So it's important for those reasons as well. But you miss out on my money and other people's money that you already have them as subscribers. So it's just stupid not to put in alt text and spacings and so on. And if you make less shitty emails, you don't get into the spam folder. If you have unsubscribe links that are clear, people just don't mark you as spam. So you reach the people that actually like your emails, but they don't end up in their spam folders. And I felt like I'm kind of collecting the bad things in the email, in my email folders, and like the Ally Grinch. So you're going to make me happy if you improve this and make it work for everyone. And last slide for today. Please do connect. My LinkedIn is a11y.se. Our company website is accesslab.com, and my email if you want to just send a question or whatever. It's Erik, ERIK, at accesslab.com. So access with an X. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erik. Attendees really resonated and loved your content and examples. There are a lot of questions. So here is the first one. And for all attendees, please, again, remember to upvote. I'll get to as many as I can. And then we can continue the conversation on Discord afterward as well. Okay, first question, Erik. What advice would you give someone to get started if they haven't been testing emails for accessibility at all? So they're super new to testing emails for accessibility.
I would say sign up for a few accounts. Sign up for Yahoo and Gmail, and if you have an Outlook account, that is also good. So start with the biggest providers and just have a junk email account which you can just send test emails to and just view them. You don't have to think about dark mode and everything at start, but start with looking at, okay, how does it look without loading images? That will give you a really, really good start.
Got it. Speaking of dark mode, that was one of the most upvoted questions. What's the best way to avoid dark mode issues when choosing color palettes? Can these be predetermined in marketing emails like MailChimp?
I think you can, but if you look at the sessions that I have in the resources, there are a lot of quirks and different approaches how to make it the same color and the same button background color and the same text color appear in all of the email providers. So I don't think it's about selecting the color palette, because it can be wrong anyways. Of course, if you choose a like dark gray button color and a black text, it's probably going to be better. But you can never be sure, because it's like Outlook still uses Word as the rendering engine. So it can be so many different things happening.
Right. Thank you, Erik. Okay, we have a few questions on this. What are some of the most accessible email platforms? Are there certain ones that are more accessible than others? Again, MailChimp, ConvertKit, Flowdesk, Constant Contact, HubSpot.
The only one out of the mentioned ones I think are better is MailChimp, because they're quite large, and as far as I've seen, they also care about accessibility. So I would go into the different providers and look at, okay, do they have accessibility statement, and what does it say? Do they actually have like a GitHub repo where they actually take on the tickets that people report? So we'll start looking into the one that actually would solve your needs. But I'm going to try and find out the one example from Jula, which has quite a good email provider, or like a layout. But with that said, I have not tested this with screen readers and different, like a switch or other things you can test with. So this is just like alt texts and the overlay of everything, or the overview of everything.
Right. Thank you, Erik. Okay, people want to know where they can buy that amazing T-shirt. I'm not
Which
sure.
I'm
not sure which one
DQ.
they're talking about. Daniel, if you could specify, we can follow up with you on that. Okay, I'll
I
grab.
think if the WCAG, I think it's HTML-Z, Stephen Faulkner, and I also have some stuff from oh, what it's called. Oh, now I can't remember it, but there's a different shops out there. Scott Winkle has a web shop,
Gotcha. Awesome.
which is really good.
Thank you for that. Okay. Is there a way to turn off images to test how much content is included in text when testing in something like MailChimp?
That is a really good question, which sadly I do not know the answer to, but there should be ways. You do have like the web developer plugin, which you could turn off images in. So even though MailChimp might not provide it, you could get help from external plugins. So trying like web developer would maybe be sufficient.
Got it. Okay. So this person says, I find sometimes with marketing and copy, especially in newsletters, a lot of it comes down to not being sensible of basic good design principles. Do you have any recommendations or examples of how you've leveraged accessibility to inform design or vice versa?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I mean, it all comes down to the basics. Just think about what you want to achieve. Do you want to sell a product? Advertise the product. Maybe do it in the heading and do the design so it's a clear heading with a light background and dark text. Just make it simple. I don't think you have to put all the brand colors into your email. You can maybe do like a white background behind the email, and then behind that you can have like a pink color if that is your brand color. So you can use different ways. Don't use it as text or buttons and so on. Just use it in the heading or a divider or something like this.
Great.
I'm not sure if I answered that well, but
I think so.
I can try.
Awesome. Let's grab another question. Okay, so in your email inbox, how do you go about loading the emails without the pictures for testing purposes? Like, how did you do that, and how can they do that to check how the emails are looking? I know you mentioned you could sign up for a bunch of different email providers. Is that what you do, or is there any other tips you have there?
I actually did this in my Gmail, and I have it as a preference, which is the default that you don't load images. And that could be just because people don't have bandwidth. They could have like have to choose between buying food or buying a plan with a lot of data. So it could eat up their available data. And you can, if you have loaded images, at least in Gmail, it's quite easy. If you click on the email, you can go down and choose an option to kind of revoke loading images.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, you mentioned emails containing lots of CTAs. Would you recommend using CTAs sparingly and keeping the total down so you don't overwhelm the user? How many CTAs is too much, too many?
I think for me, it's probably down to the magic 7, 8, 9, 10 or something like that. Because I don't think, maybe if it's more of a magazine style email, people will read through it, but I think they overestimate how much people actually enjoy their emails and how much they read it in the emails. So keep it short and simple.
Another question here on alt text. How do you interpret the rule behind alt text and repeating the text within the email? Should we not repeat the text if it's in the alt text, or should it be repeated?
Oh, that's a hard one to just answer. I would say it depends on the context. Sometimes it makes sense to repeat it, but if you have a heading, as one in my examples, saying the exact same thing as the image, it doesn't really make sense to have the old text, or the heading. Could be either way around, but I wouldn't say it hurts a lot to repeat the old text in the text, as long as the context is good and you understand it.
Great. Okay, I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions here. And another question on dark mode. This one is in regards to the Nintendo email. How would you fix the dark mode issue with that email? Are there ways to have sufficient color contrast in both normal and dark modes?
All right, that's quite it's a good question. It's a bit techy. I would recommend to watch Remy's talk about dark mode, because he is a real email geek, and he knows it only does emails for accessibility and cross platform. So he's the best resource, I think, to do it. There are, of course, ways to make it consistent.
Got it. Okay. Is there a good way to combine clear link text with something like click here that might help people less familiar with inline links?
Yeah, sure. If you think it adds value, you can have to unsubscribe, click here. Just don't start with click here, because if you have a lot of click here links, a screen reader would go crazy and not read your email. But yeah, if it makes sense, if it's helpful. Often it's not that helpful, because an underlying link kind of tells you you can click on it.
Got it. Okay, I think we have time. Maybe one more question here. Are there ways to add headings to Gmail emails?
Oh, that is a good question. I know they have sizes in Gmail emails. Not sure if you can do H1, H2, and so on in Gmail. No, I cannot answer that one.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries. Okay, awesome. Well, with that, I do think that we are at time.